Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Gotcha Manning, right?
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm April Martinez.
And thank you for joining us
Yes.
this morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Marlene.
Good morning.
How are you?
I am great. It's a lovely morning.
It is a lovely morning. I started off my morning with a epiphany and a rant all at the same time. Yeah.
Okay.
So why do men's clothes fit better, wear better, and have better pockets than women? That was like my whole thing with Shanice this morning.
That goes way deeper than I think we can delve into today, especially because we don't make our own clothes.
True, but I was just like, my phone fits in this pocket. How? Anyways, that was my
You can
rant
wear
this
men's clothes.
I
That's
am.
a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and my entire that was the point of the epiphany. I was like, my phone fits, and my keys
Oh,
are
versus like the short.
yes.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
that's when I sat here just pondering.
Okay, so there you go. That was your epiphany
That
for
was my
this
epiphany
morning.
for this morning.
Fantastic.
But yes.
Yeah, there's of course it's been. I feel like this week just kind of sped by.
it
I
was-
cannot believe. I woke up and I was like, it's
Today is
Thursday.
third day in February.
Yeah. Okay. I wonder. Yesterday was a very auspicious day because
Yeah.
it was the second of the second month of 2022.
That's what everybody was buzzing about.
Yeah, and it's going to be the last time that you get the sequence of twos in this month. There'll be 3 this month. There'll be the 20th,
Yeah.
and there'll also be the 22nd. So, and apparently 222 in numerology is, a really great sign.
All I know is everybody went a Bible leader.
Yeah, I don't know if they won though.
I mean, you never know how lucky. I don't know if you believe in those things. I'm not a person that goes and Bible leader, but that's a whole culture on its own.
Yes, it is, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think that the whole, some people have a science behind how they buy numbers. I don't understand it.
I don't know.
But I
either.
think it's just a luck thing, and sometimes when people see a number or hear a number and it triggers them, they go and get it. So,
Yeah.
but tomorrow, of course, there is a lot. We have the House meeting taking place. It is going to be. We don't know with or without the Prime Minister as yet, as he is still recovering from COVID. He's supposed to test on Friday before the meeting itself to see if he's going to be attending.
I mean, everything now is virtual, right? Times are changing. Have a virtual
I don't know.
meeting.
They're
maybe?
not
No?
there yet, but they
They're not-
can go ahead without him. So, but we're of course hoping that he'll be able to recover and return back to normal work. As he says, he's working from home.
Yeah. Oh, we wish him the best in health, right? But then also, I have feelings about certain things happening in the news. I especially enjoyed watching the feature on the Monkey River segment that
Yes.
Dwayne did. One of the things that captivated me was it's not the only coastal village that is having this problem.
Yeah.
And it's just really sad that we are just now starting to hear about, it's practically sinking underwater.
Yeah.
And you have villages like Monkey River, you have villages like Gales Point, and you have places like Belize City.
Or Dangriga.
And
Dangriga has
Dangriga.
very visible signs of erosion as well. It's interesting that you say that because the Monkey River erosion problem has been documented over the years by quite a few journalists. And it's, when you look at the progression, it just keeps on robbing people of their property. Sometimes it's family land. But the thing that really triggers me is that.
Yep.
It just showed for a moment. Losing your loved ones that have passed. Now, when you talk about irreplaceable,
Yeah.
that is, that's for me one of those things that you just say to yourself, you can lose so many things and perhaps get a bit of a replacement. You may get a new home, you may get a new property somewhere. Won't be the same, but you can never, ever be able to have that place and space where you have put your loved one to rest, and that's so concerning.
I mean, you can trace that to show how long they have been going through this problem.
Yeah.
And yes, I think the person that was being interviewed said that they have tried their best to move some of the tombstones and so forth, but it just, you know, they can't, eventually they won't have any more space to move anything. And this
This
is,
shot too, he's
yes.
showing a septic tank out in the water.
Yeah.
From properties that
Can you
used to
see
exist
that? Look
far
how
out.
far that is
Yeah.
to the shoreline. And that is a problem that we will keep having because, you know, historically Belize was underwater at one point. We rose up, you know,
Yeah.
eventually. But the truth of the matter is there are many coastal villages having this problem. And I would really like to see how NGOs like Oceana and so forth respond to this
Yeah.
kind of situation, as well as the government.
Yeah.
Because what can we do?
Well, that's the tough question, and I think that's what I wanted. Before I go there, though, the young girl, Ariel, I believe her name was, who did one of the interviews, who spoke about, you know, being able to stay in the village.
Yes.
That's her desire. Her desire is, because, you know, many families have moved out of the community. And when she says, you know, she wants to stay there, she wants to be on the land that she grew up on, and that she doesn't know what the next step would be. I think, you know, for me, that was just one of those moments. And especially young people wanting to stay in a village, and maintain traditions. That was pretty powerful to me.
I think that the other young lady that was interviewed said that now they're only over 260 plus.
She said went from a town to a
Thousand.
settlement to, no, from a town to a village to a settlement. Yeah.
And she's absolutely right. Because how do you relocate 200 and plus people?
Well, and so it goes back to what you said before. I think if we take this particular example and use it as you know, some of the other things that we've covered very recently, when there was this big splash about our delegation going to COP26 and representing Belize and also other small islands and countries that have been affected by climate change. Now, I must admit that the studies that are being done at this time, the last one by the Cuban Brigade, is showing that it's not just climate change that's causing erosion in Monkey River, it's also human activity.
Yes.
So it's a combination. So that's kind of a local issue. We need to be able to maintain agricultural runoff, how people clear the areas near the rivers or near the seaside, maintaining mangroves. We've heard all of those. So when environmental agencies talk about that, it's to prevent things like that. But also, climate change does have a part in it as well. And so when, you know, our representatives go out, and as we heard with Prime Minister Briceño, and I know that Prime Minister Motley from Barbados was also very vocal, when they're talking about larger developed countries who are really contributing towards climate change, not taking into account that countries like Belize are already feeling the effects. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about people losing their dead.
I mean, the fact that when it rains and you're just small consideration, right? Because sometimes we feel like places like Monkey River are so far away from us and we live in urban cities and so forth. But take in, for example, Belize City. Belize City, when it rains, it always floods. And yes, you have the drainage problem and so forth. But at another point in time, take 10 years, 20 years from now, that is going to continue happening because Belize City is underwater, technically.
Belize City is below sea level,
And so when we talk about climate change and we talk about these environmental issues, we have to try to bring it close to home because it's Monkey River today, but it will be Belize City tomorrow. We have to think about the repercussions now. And it was very ironic that I think, I'm not sure if this segment came before or after they talked about Miss Earth being the ambassador for BTB. And I said, I wonder if this is going to be their next project that they would like to look into.
Yeah. But it was, I mean, you know, it was I'm happy that, you know, Dwayne headed down there to show us what it's like at this point. and so that we can, hopefully the ideal situation would be he goes back a few years from now and they've figured out a way to be able to slow down the erosion that is taking place, although they gave so many accounts of things that they've been trying to slow it down, and it hasn't been helpful so far.
Maybe the community, but also the Belizean population needs to come in and step, because 200 plus people isn't enough to help that that problem. But let's hope for the best and see what happens in the next couple of months.
Yeah. Of course, other things that are happening, we saw Honorable Panton responding yesterday about the leadership race that is ongoing, being very clear. She is still in the race. She is pushing forward, starting her campaign. At this point in time, they are still awaiting the official resignation of Patrick Faber as leader of the party. However, tomorrow, the leader of the opposition in the House is going to be Honorable Shyam Barrow.
Yeah.
But Tracy said yesterday, I think in being able to talk about how the campaign has started, they have to go out, meet delegates, meet representatives, convince them that they are the person to lead the party. And it's going to be, I think, an interesting few weeks.
It is going to be an interesting few weeks. I think also this says a lot about how little we know in Belize about the inner goings of politics and parties.
Yeah.
Because it was to my understanding that was going to be a clear-cut election within their party. But then when we had Honorable Shyam Barrow, he's like, no, the Constitution would allow for him to become party leader if the delegates say yes. And he has said that he has the support. So I am very curious to see how this is going to turn out. It's been a very rocky journey for the UDP after the election loss. And I had asked Honorable Shyam Barrow last week, how do they plan to unite the party? And I'm not sure if this is the way to go.
Well, they have to select the leader, and it clearly isn't going the route of a unanimous endorsement.
Yeah.
So it is, at this point, 2 persons in the race. There may be more. We don't know as yet. There is enough time for other persons to enter the race as well. But I think the uniting the party is one step. And then it's also kind of defining what they're going to be post the Barrow administration, and I mean Dean Barrow, not Shyam Barrow. So that's also going to be a really interesting development as they move forward.
I really just hope that they don't focus on the one issue that is allowing them to run for party leader, because my concern is always, don't use the problem to uplift your betterment, right? You have to be able to show that you are a leader in the sense of what are your politics, what are your philosophies, what do you believe in, don't just say, I am not a person that has allegations and accusations against them, therefore I am eligible.
Yeah.
Don't do that, right?
Yeah. Lifting yourself with someone else's weaknesses.
Tell me why
Yeah.
I need to elect you. Tell me how you'll be better for the party and for the people of the country.
Yeah.
That is what I'm hoping in this race, because I really tired of blame this, blame that, and then I am better than everybody else.
I think you and a lot of Belizeans.
Yeah.
I feel that there has been a shift in the tolerance that people have for the same old in politics. What's unfortunate is that there seems to not be as much of an awareness from our political leaders as yet, but there is time between now and the next general elections to be able to demand better.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, but that's only 2 of the issues. Of course, there's the border opening that's coming up. Are you planning your Chetumal trip?
Nope.
Bacalar,
No,
what else?
no. There's so, as Shanice and I were just talking about, there's so many things to do in Belize that we have not done yet. Why do I need to go across the border?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure our tourism sector, they're happy to hear that, right?
No, well, it's not just about tourism, but I always feel that we have our stuff here, and we always talk about oh, if it's Belizean, it's not good, or if it's Belizean, it's this. And I feel that for the past 2 years, I have seen, and just through my NGO itself, I've seen how great things can come out of Belizean brilliance. And I'm not gonna go over to Chetumal just because the border open. You know, maybe like December. I need to go buy a Christmas cake.
All right, but that is set to take place on Monday. But we're going to get moving into our show for today. We have a lot to talk about, and a big part of that is the COVID update. We're going to be hearing from the Pan American Health Organization, the representative of World Health Organization in Belize, about year 2 of the pandemic.
Yeah, and going into this health conversation, we're going to also be hearing from the Cancer Society today, the Belize Cancer Society. We're going to be talking to them about World Cancer Day, which is tomorrow. Yes, they're going to be sharing with us the theme for this year and talking about cancer awareness.
All right, and then we can close off with some educational programs for women and their families. That's going to be done through the EGLA's Training Center, so you definitely want to stay tuned for that. But let's shift gears now into some motivation to get you started on this Thursday morning. So that's time for our Eye Opener. And our Eye Opener taken from dailyom.com. Goes like this. When we start to feel bored or blue, it is often a sign of needing to dig deep and take time for some much needed introspection. It's easy to get caught up in examining our actions instead of really deeply examining ourselves. It's as if we've washed and shined the surface of our car without taking the time to check under the hood. We may appear to be in great shape, but if we aren't engaging in the deep inner work of self-examination, the chances are good that we are not deeply aware of the real substance of our lives. Of course, the peace that comes with meditation and spiritual practice is an essential part of the whole picture of our development, but it serves us best in conjunction with the less settling, more chaotic work of digging around below the surface to see what needs to be healed, owned, or released. Then, our actions are more than just an attempt to keep everything in control, looking pretty and nice. Fueled by the energy of a life in transformation, they become powerful expressions of courage and faith, further inspiring our own inner worth and that of those around us.
You know, yesterday I received a message from a student asking, how do they come back to something that they love? How do they come back to caring about things like
That's
their
deep. Do you teach
education?
philosophy?
I don't, but you know, we serve as advisors,
yeah.
you know, and I was very surprised because it was just like this random, can I ask you a question? And I said, you know, this right here is basically what I said. You need to step away for a little bit and maybe do something different, try something new, and maybe it will either bring you back to the path where you were on, or it'll take you in a different direction where you need to be. And you know, sometimes these things happen out of our control, sometimes we're in our control, and we don't know why we lose interest in things. And maybe it's the routine, but maybe taking yourself out of that for a little bit and seeing things from a different perspective or from a different point of view will reshape your path. I like that.
No, I'm really touched by what they talk about as the chaotic work of diving deep, because let me tell you something. I think working on yourself, building self-awareness is probably one of the hardest things that you have to do as a person. And so many people, there are people who die never doing this type of work. Because it's real easy to just jump on one path and stay on it. Because that's what I've been doing, because that's what's expected. Because, you know, mom and dad are lawyers or doctors, or, you know, they have a business and we have to follow through with it. Because I said I was going to be a teacher when I was 12 years old, or decided that, you know, I wanted to study business in third form, so I got to work in a bank or a business as I move forward. And we make these little random decisions at different points in our life, and we just continue.
We feel like we're not allowed to change our minds.
Well, I'm a big proponent of changing our mind.
I am as well, and I always believe that, especially because I teach at a university, that we always should tell students what the real world is like before they plunge into it. Because you are in school from you are about 3 or 4 years old all the way till you're about 20, 21 years old. You don't know what that life is outside. And so you are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to try something different. You are allowed to move out of your space and do something else, if the economy allows you to do that.
But even so, I mean, what has been tougher than 2020 in the pandemic year and the years that have followed? And look at the number of entrepreneurs who got up and started a business. So even when people say, well, the economy isn't good enough, hold on a second. There's a whole generation of young people figuring out where gaps exist and positioning themselves to be able to fill that gap. So it's not so much about looking at it from, well, this is where everybody is. It's, okay, this is where everybody is. There's something that I can do to fill a need. And many have done it. Quite a few have been successful. And what I love even more is that we've interviewed, I call them serial entrepreneurs, because I just think, if you're going to be serial in anything, it should be in entrepreneurship, because one idea may fail and then they just shift and they go on to something else. And it really shows the resilience that especially these young entrepreneurs are growing up with. And that is so promising for us if we can continue to nurture it.
And that is why we're not going to chat tomorrow.
But a great eye-opener for today.
It was lovely.
Dive into your whys. That's what I call it.
Dive into your
Why?
Should be the new quote for today.
All right. We got to get going, though, into our weather update. And I know we're expecting a change in weather by the end of the week. So Angelia Guy is going to give us those details.
Yes.
Over the area, the 24-hour forecast is for partly cloudy skies with little or no rainfall and warm temperatures. High temperatures today will peak near 86 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 91 inland and 80 in the hills. Low temperatures tonight will fall to about 80 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 70 inland and 64 in the hills. Winds over the open sea will blow from the east and southeast at 10 to 20 knots with higher gusts. Sea conditions will be moderate to rough at times, and operators of small crafts are advised to exercise caution. Low tide occurs at 3 minutes after 6 this morning, to be followed by high tide at 3 minutes to 12 this afternoon. The sun rises at 6:24 this morning and will set at 5:47 this evening. The moon will rise at 8:27 this morning and will set at 8:27 tonight. The outlook for Friday and Friday night is for an increase in moisture and showery activity over the country. A few showers and isolated thunderstorms are likely over southern and inland areas Friday afternoon, spreading to most areas during the night. In this week's sargassum update, latest observations show a moderate increase in sargassum offshore. As a result, there is an increase in chances of sargassum affecting local beaches during the next few days. And that ends this morning's weather report and forecast from the National Meteorological Service.
So that beautiful weather we're seeing outside is going to get warm.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. And some shower activity expected into tomorrow. All right, we're going to get moving into our show for today. As we told you, our first conversation is with Tahoe, and we're going to be talking about the work that they've been doing in the country, and especially over the course of the pandemic. But we are going to take a moment to say happy birthday.
Yes, to none other than Minister Valentino CEO. Valentino Shal. Happy birthday, sir, and we hope you have a wonderful day. But I also want to give a happy belated birthday shout out to my bestest friend in the whole wide world, Gianni Marin, who is in Key Cocker. We had a wonderful day yesterday, and we wish you many more blessings.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be starting our conversation reflecting on the work of PAHO in Belize, and that's coming up in a few, so stay tuned.
It's almost lunchtime and Alice is getting hungry and forgot to bring cash. She remembers that eCash now has a geolocation feature in which she can easily view the eCash merchants near her, especially restaurants. Her co-workers also ask her to order food for them.
Chicken chow mein, please, and a Coke.
The merchant sends her the payment link, she taps confirm, and within a few minutes, her food is delivered. Alice then views her transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made, then taps the split the bill button where she selects the unevenly option and moves the bar to the desired amount per person. The request is then sent to her friends. Her colleagues accept the request and are ready to enjoy their meals. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash make Alice's life a whole lot easier.
Stream as you go with SmartStream Video on Demand. Coming soon.
The Social Security Board, in collaboration with the Labor Department, takes this opportunity to remind insured persons of the requirements for compensation when on sick leave. Any employee who has worked with an employer for at least 2 months is entitled to 16 working days of sick leave with full pay every year. This is how it works. Upon approval of a sickness or injury benefit claim by SSB, 80% of the employee's weekly insurable earnings is paid as a Social Security benefit, and the difference in the employee's salary is paid by the employer. This is to ensure that the employee does not suffer any loss of wages when ill. After 16 days, compensation for sick leave is paid as a Social Security benefit only. Some conditions apply. This message is brought to you by the Social Security Board and the Labor Department. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
If you're looking for low-cost television advertising, have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you save valuable time and money. Call us today at 223-0146 or visit us at our offices on Pony Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
And we're back.
Yes. Hi. Good. We're back. Good morning. Distractions all around. I'm sorry.
Yes.
But via Zoom, we have the 3 representatives from PAHO here to talk to us about COVID-19, the reflections of the past 2 years. Via Zoom, we have Dr. Noreen Jack, who is the PAHO and WHO representative in Belize. We have Dr. Edwin Bolastig, who is the advisor in health systems and services of PAHO. And we have Leilu Reballos, the technical advisor at health emergencies at PAHO. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for being here with us today.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We were just highlighting a little bit right before we came on camera about how we all want this to be over, right? We want to talk about the past 2 years and how we're hoping for a little bit of insight as to when this will all be over. I am a firm believer of, viruses and bacteria and diseases stick around. We just try our best to reduce the amount of people that catch it as much as possible. But let's start with you, Dr. Jack. Can you tell us a little bit about when we can see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, I guess?
So again, I want to say good morning, but I also want to thank you all for having us present today to reflect on some of the work that we've done in 2020, 2021, but also to look forward to the future as we are about to discuss. Yes, everybody wants this pandemic to come to an end, but the reality is not at an end. And the occurrence of the variants, and especially Omicron, leads us on some uncertainty. At the same time, we can also, I would use the word celebrate too, because we do have the tools. We have tools that can work, and this is the vaccines, and we have the public health measures. But we have to combine them, and we have to use them. And that will, in a sense, help us move through the pandemic. But I know people are tired. People are tired with all the restrictions, the lockdowns of the previous years, and now they're looking to be free. But we have to also look at reality. With this uncertainty, we do not know when this pandemic will end. And we anticipate that into the future, we'll have what is maybe an endemic, that the virus is around, just like influenza. The virus is around.
Yes.
And many viruses are around, but we learn to live with them. You have the annual influenza vaccines. That's one of the things that we have available. And we have measures to contain various diseases. And this is with greater knowledge. We can live with this virus.
Right.
One of the things I want to say that is also that we need to celebrate, we have the therapeutics, the medicines, the treatment. We did not have that in 2020. So with all those gains that we have made, we should be thankful, but use them and not avoid them. So I will stop at this time, but it gives that, I'm trying to give some balance, that there's both the hope, but there's also the reality.
Right.
Well, I think you're right. I think starting off 2022, in the thick of a wave of yet another variant, has been both a positive and negative circumstance for us in the pandemic. One, we have a large number of people having the virus at the same time, but then because luckily it was not as severe, not affecting people as severely as the previous strains, it led many to become even more dismissive about it. Perhaps taking risks they wouldn't have taken when things were in a much more difficult circumstance. I want to just, on the first point, talk about how so many people having Omicron at the same time actually leads to the potential of more variants, and what the World Health Organization knows and PAHO knows about developing variants at this time. Who wants
So I can start, but I would ask Edwin and Leilou to join in.
Yes.
Of course, one of the things that's happening at the same time is the global collaboration. And through the global collaboration, one of the areas is the genotyping, looking for the changes that are occurring within the viruses. Viruses evolve, that's normal. And so the variants that are taking place. But Omicron is one of the variants that have it is much more infectious. It spreads more rapidly than any of the variants that we have before. It also escapes the immune response. And when I'm saying, so you develop antibodies, that you have your immune system that both the natural or the vaccine-induced responses, it is escaping some of the immune responses and maybe contributing also to the rapid spread. And also the reinfections that we're seeing with Omicron. So and I think that is some of the uncertainty, because Omicron is rapidly replacing all the Delta and previous strains. It's mainly, right now, the pandemic is largely Omicron. So anything that will arise further really comes from Omicron. And yes, and that gives you some hesitation as to what it can be. Will it have greater immune escape? What will happen? And so, but Edwin and Leilou, I will ask you to continue in terms of Omicron and the belief that people think that it's mild. You know, the belief, because, and I'm saying belief, because, but continue, please, Edwin.
If I may, yes, this is Dr. Belasting, Health Systems and Service Advisor. I want to speak regarding Omicron and being highly transmissible. However, the vaccines that have been authorized by WHO remain to be effective against them, right? So that's what I wanted to say. Because as you mentioned, people could be dismissive already and then may not take the measures, but we still would want to encourage people to take the vaccine. It's still protective against Omicron. However, as we know, it's still possible even for vaccinated people to transmit the virus. And so therefore, the danger remains. So therefore, we still would want to encourage them, for those who are symptomatic or test positive, to still continue to self-isolate until the infection has passed, regardless of the vaccination status. So that's what we would want to, to say to everyone, to continue the public health measures. There should be no letdown of the measures, despite knowing that the vaccines remain to be effective against severe disease and death.
I wanted to ask about the vaccinations and the development of vaccines through the World Health Organization and PAHO. Can you tell us and our viewers a little bit about the evolutionary process of the vaccinations from 2020 to 2022? We still have this this belief that people don't want to get vaccinated and so forth. So could you walk us through how we started in 2022 with vaccines and where we are in 2022 with vaccines?
Okay. So Edwin, if you want to take that, or I can continue.
Yeah, Dr. Jackie can go ahead. And,
okay, so let's begin. And I want to use this as an opportunity to emphasize that one of the important things that have not always been recognized is the global collaboration that's taking place, a lot of which is coordinated by WHO through various working groups and scientific committees. And there's something called the ACT Accelerator, looking at the development of diagnostics, which is the test kits, looking at the therapeutics. So now that you have medicines, that's why less people are dying also, and also the vaccines. But bringing both manufacturers and scientists together to look at what exists and the opportunities exist. Some of the vaccines that we have developed clearly comes from technologies that existed before. But however, one of the first ones, the one with the messenger RNA, which is like Pfizer and Moderna, that was new technology, but it was being developed already. And so it was just the opportune time then to start to use that technology. The others, like inactivated viruses, recombinant, they have all different technologies. And now another newer one called subunits of the virus, that you use these now. So you are existing technologies, but scientists working together and manufacturers so that we can come up with these vaccines. And it is, yes, it was the first time that we reached the stage of developing a vaccine so quickly, but it was really collaboration among many persons that allowed it. So now we have about 7, I think, 7 or 8 vaccines that have 9 that have that have the emergency use listing and have approval, and further use in younger persons, the persons now up to 5 years and over, like the Pfizer vaccine. So it was really, and I really want to highlight that collaboration that is not always visible. It's not visible, and of course these, I want to really highlight as well, is that these vaccines went through the clinical trial processes. You have a phase 1, a phase 2, and a phase 3. It's just that it was accelerated in some instances, and some were occurring at the same time, and that's why we had it within within 9 months that you had the first vaccines becoming available.
Yeah, it definitely was, I think, at the end of 2020, what we thought was going to be the light at the end of the tunnel once the vaccines were approved. And then, of course, in 2021, we saw that the uptake was just not where it needed to be. And even today in Belize, we are at about 50% or so of the population being vaccinated. I want to talk about that because for us, living in Belize, it doesn't seem like enough, but it is actually better than some of the others in the region are doing and other countries around the world. So let's put into perspective where Belize is in this pandemic when it comes to vaccination and number of infections and deaths.
Okay. All right. So, Lelu, you want to begin with the infections, and then we'll come back to the
vaccination.
Vaccine. Yeah, we'll come to that.
Lelu, are you on mute?
Sorry.
Yes.
Hi. Sorry.
Okay,
Sorry.
there you go.
My line fell by the internet. If I remember the question where we are at compared to other countries, I think we are really doing quite well. Coverage has really increased over time. And last year, we have seen a lot of effort put into campaigns on vaccination, and a lot of, not just by the government, but a lot of the non-government agencies has really promoted vaccination and so on. And it's continuing. And we've seen, as you have said, from a low uptake to now where we're at, which is kind of a high uptake of vaccinations. So I think a lot of things have happened in that campaign, and it really worked. And I think we should not stop. I think we should continue and encourage people and reach more those that the public promotion cannot reach, because at times, regular programming, radios, televisions, Facebook, internet connections are sometimes very limited in some rural populations. I think those are the areas where we need to really focus on and reach. So I'll stop there.
And infections, how we fare off in terms of, I know it was last week, Dr. Etienne said that Belize had the highest number of new infections. It may have been 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so that was in reference, I think it was 2 weeks ago,
Yes.
and it was at that time, Belize was in the group of countries that had the greatest increase.
Yes.
So we look at it on a weekly basis, and which countries have had the greatest increase in cases, so that was taking place in Belize, and
That was
so
at our
Belize-
peak.
Well, I would not call it peak as yet. We do not know because the latest figures are still continuing to show large amounts of infection. But this is not happening only in Belize. This is happening throughout the world, really, with great increases in Europe, within the rest of the Americas. In fact, I was looking at some data last night, really, in the sense that what we have seen in the Caribbean, the numbers are falling within this week, but South America and some areas are increasing. So we are seeing the Omicron is continuing to have its impact, and that's what we're seeing.
That's really interesting because we're very accustomed to a peak and a decline. And as you speak now and you say we look at other countries and how the virus, or this variant, I should say, spreads in their country, we use that as kind of anecdotal data for us. The question, though, is that a lot of people have been, or we've heard some health officials talk about the possibility of herd immunity with this particular variant. Is this something that is fact-based, and how serious how much is this a possibility?
Okay. Edwin, you want to, I can begin, but Edwin, I would ask you.
Yes. Go ahead, Dr. John, and I'll follow.
No, really, herd immunity, we speak about herd immunity in the context of immunizations and vaccines.
Okay.
And really vaccines. And you know that early on in this pandemic, people were hoping that they can use herd infections to create herd immunity, but infections that can lead to death, you have to be careful.
Yes.
People are going to die. Because Omicron is so infectious and so many people are getting infected, there's a hope. Some people are hoping that because so many people would have been exposed and infected with Omicron, that we would establish herd immunity. But we do not know the next variant. And I think that is one of the underlying issues. We are seeing with Omicron reinfection. So persons who would have been infected with Delta or Alpha or one of the previous variants, they're infected again. So that immunity that was established early on is not protecting against Omicron in some instances.
Yeah.
So this is the reason. So the way to reach herd immunity really should be our vaccination. That's the safe way, instead of exposing people to infections and then there's death that can occur. But Edwin, please.
Yes, as Dr. Jack has mentioned, reaching herd immunity for vaccination is still the preferred approach because getting the infection without the protection from vaccination is very dangerous. I think the idea there is protecting the vulnerable. We still have persons who could not be vaccinated. There are persons who have comorbidities or underlying conditions. There are the elderly. There are very young children who are not yet vaccinated. So for them to be to reach herd immunity by exposing these persons is much more dangerous than via vaccination. So we still prefer that we reach herd immunity through vaccination in order to maximize the protective effect of the vaccines.
I wanted to ask, I want to talk a little bit about the variants because we are talking about vaccinations and so forth, but from 2020 to 2022, we've seen at least 3 or 4 variants come out from the original COVID-19. Can we talk a little bit about that mutation? Why is it so fast spreading? Why does it keep mutating? And even though we're trying to reduce the numbers of infections, we always hear about a different variant. So what is it about this virus that keeps on mutating, and how do we adapt to that sort of degree of mutation?
Yeah. Go ahead, Edwin.
Yes, in general, viruses wanted to survive, right? It's the law. It's the natural law, a survival of the fittest. So that the virus wouldn't want the host to be dead. But the previous variants, were more fatal. And the Omicron is not as fatal because the mutations in its spike proteins, would only would allow it to reach only the upper respiratory tract. And so therefore, when you don't get to the lower respiratory tract or the lungs, you don't get pneumonia. And so people are not dying from pneumonia. And this is how viruses would want to survive and propagate themselves, because they keep the host alive. And by keeping them alive, the transmission goes on. When the person is dead, they're of no use to them.
Right.
And therefore, they will continue to mutate in such a way that they would increase their transmissibility.
Yeah. Now
And that's in general.
Yeah, let's move forward in one of the things that I hear you saying repeatedly, that the way out of this pandemic is when sufficient persons are vaccinated. I think, Lelu, you were talking about how far we've come, and Belize being able to meet beyond the 40% that was hoped for at the end of 2021 was an achievement. But now there's a new demographic of persons that have to be targeted. And these are persons that for some reason or another are hesitant in getting the vaccine or getting the booster. What's the strategy? And I know the WHO and PAHO are very big on behavior change. This is really diving into getting people to see and analyze their behavior. What's the strategy to target this group, understanding that they perhaps have either fallen victim to misinformation or lack of information, and are going to take a different type of convincing that got the first half of the population vaccinated?
Yeah, the approach we're taking on is more of community engagement.
Okay.
It's really understanding. I think it's a basic tenet of primary healthcare. Start where the people are. We really have to go to the bottom of it. It's a bottoms-up approach. Start where they are. Start with their beliefs. What's keeping them from taking up the vaccine? What are those behaviors that are not allowing them, to take up the vaccine or follow the public health measures and all of that. It's really engaging the community in a significant way that would change their behaviors and would, of course, meet your public health objectives. And maybe my colleagues would want to add to that as well.
Let me just tag on a little add-on question there. From what you've seen so far, is it access or is it information?
It's both.
Yes, and it's not just access either.
Yeah.
I mean, Belize has a lot of vaccines compared to some countries. There's some countries, some parts of the world. In Africa, less than 10% of the population have access to, have received a COVID vaccine. So there's great inequity, but that's not the case like in many of the Caribbean countries either, Belize and even Central American countries. So there's access, but I think information and misinformation and not always listen to credible sources, and this is across the board, across the society, at all levels. Education is not a factor in this. So it's really trying to understand why, as Edwin was saying, why the hesitancy, and especially hesitancy where in a population we are used to childhood vaccinations.
Yes.
We have been doing, prior to COVID, one of the highest levels of immunization levels in the world. You know, 95% of the childhood vaccines coverage. So you would want to know why. And so I think really that's where we are at.
That's a question I keep asking.
I think it's part of this generational gap. This is the first time that we've had a pandemic in over 100 years. And I think that it doesn't come just with misinformation or access of information, but you know, that I guess that comes back to my first question about talking about the evolution of the vaccine and how it was made and how it happened so quickly, because that's what everybody's problem was. How do we make a vaccine so quick? What's in it? Why, you know, and forgetting that you take vaccines from you were born. You take vaccines for, I mean, I had the MMR and all of these other viruses we take vaccines for. So the problem with COVID, I believe it was just that acceleration of how fast it came about, and nobody was really talking about it as often. And then this is the first time ever in the world that everybody's going through the same thing at the exact same time. But coming back to Marlene's question about population and herd immunity, what is it about the vaccine that you keep repeating that would eventually lead us to that herd immunity that you're talking about?
Okay, it happens with all vaccines. All the vaccines that we have, that's how it works on herd immunity. When you have more than 80-90% of people receiving the vaccine, you reduce the susceptible people in the community or in the environment, and they, in a sense, protect those who have not received the vaccine. So that's why normally with the childhood vaccines, we aim for like 95% coverage. We want 95%. And that's the way to get the herd immunity. And we are saying at this time, at least over 70% of the vaccine, because those who are vaccinated protect those who are not vaccinated. It is a public good. It's a public, and it is reduce it. So the virus or whatever disease will not have the opportunity to spread from person to person to person. As Edwin was saying, it wants to survive. It wants to be able to move from person to person. But if you stop that transmission, you interrupt further transmission. Now, at this time, the vaccines that we have, I want to clarify, are to reduce hospitalization and death. We are still work is continuing globally to come up with a vaccine, a COVID vaccine, that will also reduce transmission between people. We're not there. We're not saying that this does that, this vaccine does that, but it prevents hospitalization, severe disease, and death. That we are clear about, even caused by Omicron. It's quite clear. So going back to that herd immunity, this is what we've been doing for like 100 years. And I say 100 years because I bring into the context smallpox.
Yes.
You know, we don't have smallpox. Why we don't have smallpox? We don't have smallpox because we had vaccination campaigns, and you know, we received and the same measles and
mumps.
I mean, mumps.
I grew up with friends getting mumps, and now we have the vaccination, and we don't hear the children getting these diseases anymore. But so let me bring it back, because this is really one of, I think, moving forward as we move into what would be year 3. The doubting and the denying of scientific facts is a hurdle that I think across the world, top health organizations like the WHO and PAHO, and even I think on a local level, people are trying to fight. I hear from doctors and frontliners who are frustrated with what they hear patients say when they come in. How do we, or what is the thinking at this point in being able to kind of guide people back to reliable data and to develop a trust, once again, in people who have treated them for severe illnesses, vaccinated their babies, delivered their babies, done their surgeries? How do we, or can we, track back to that?
Okay, invite all, I will start, but Edwin and Lelu, please come in. I would say personally, I have been also frustrated because as a physician for years and public with a strong public health background, it's difficult, especially even when it's in your family or friends. That's, I mean, I even have, with my son, I have to use the word quarrels about various things related to this, and this the reason why I'm bringing all of this up. It's frustrating also to the healthcare provider to hear what is being said, but then I step back from this and then I say we need to listen. We need to hear what are the issues that are preventing people from accepting what is being said as from the scientific point of view. I also reflect and think maybe we haven't done a good job in terms of health beliefs and health education, that people do not know much about their body and now it's made up. So then people can tell them anything. And so I think it's also an opportunity to reflect as a healthcare provider, reflect what have we done? And what are our approaches? And we have not really used the approaches of community engagement and community participation, which in the early days of public health, this was fundamental. So, so this is where my reflections, but I would love to hear Lelu and Edwin as well, because I think it's something we need to do.
And if I can piggyback on that community engagement and community participation, because I think the sense of community needs to be, brought back to the table and so on, right? And also taking personal responsibility. If we do hear, like, let's say, misinformation being disseminated, take that responsibility and correct it. Because at times, we let go of those information and you probably engage a little bit and then you give up, but don't give up. Everybody has a responsibility as a person like us, as a family member. And Dr. Jack has just mentioned about being affected in the family, and same with my family as well, and Edwin, I'm sure. So take that responsibility, engage, and don't be frustrated. And I know, Dr. Jack, you are frustrated and we us too, but let us not stop there, right?
I mean,
let me add as well risk communication to the community engagement. I think it's important to have an understanding of what are the risks, because misunderstanding the risks is one of the reasons why people are hesitant in taking the vaccine, and all of that. So I think it's very important to have an understanding of what are the risks and how do we mitigate those risks. And I think we might want to go back to the discussion earlier regarding the development, the research and development that went into the development of the vaccines, right? Because there has to be, the message has to be that there's an assurance that the vaccines that are approved by WHO have gone through a rigorous process. The period of development may have been shortened, but these are existing platforms already that were just waiting to be exploited during the pandemic. So that because these platforms existed already, it was easy for the different stakeholders to come together. But what was different pre-pandemic and during the pandemic, as Dr. Jack mentioned, is the coming together. It's the coming together of industry, the coming together of research and academia, and coming together of corporate interests, of the public health world, and plus the industry, to be able to work together in such a short period of time to develop all these vaccines that are now saving lives. So I think that's basically the difference between the pre-pandemic in terms of the R&D for vaccines and during the pandemic period. Over.
It's such an interesting perspective that you just gave, because when you look at it, very often it's easier to kind of get community togetherness in the public sphere than on the global community, but this time you have it taking place in the opposite end. But you talked about risk and recognizing risks involved. As someone who is of one of the almost 6 million families who've lost someone to COVID, I think sometimes we have moved away from the messaging of how people can lose their lives to this disease, even with taking precaution and even with science development. But it's very difficult to kind of translate that risk because of all the other things that come along with it. The mitigation of what people call their freedoms, whether it's wearing masks, gathering at 1 a.m. or crossing borders, that becomes kind of the overshadowing factor, what I have lost versus what others can lose. How do we merge this?
So I'll begin again. I think what we are seeing is a movement of society to being individualistic, and compared to community, and where we look at what is the good for all versus the good for me alone. And public health really looks at the good of all and how to communicate that we all are connected, and we're connected at all levels, local level, national level, global level, we are all connected. This sort of communication may help people understand that if I take the vaccine, use the public health measures, I'm protecting someone else. And this is how I think the difficulty, we may not have communicated that well, but it's also how society has changed. That people are living for me and me, but not for us.
What's the drivers for people?
And the driver. And not to see, and there's also, as you talked about the death, there are 3 million, no, I'm trying to remember over 5 million people have died.
5.7, almost.
Yes, throughout the world from COVID. And that is underreported. We are sure that that's underreported. And we see that almost every day in some countries as a result of COVID. But people, I don't know if it's rationalization, closing your mind, but you are able to live with it. But knowing that the actions we take as individuals impact others, our family and our community, and how could we work together? So I think some return to sense of community, and we've had that in the past. So it's not impossible for us to see the big picture.
I want to kind of extend this conversation because we're talking about community engagement and communication. And one of the beautiful things about this region, Latin America, Pan America, and Belize is that we are multilingual. So what are your campaigns doing to reach out to communities that don't speak English and Spanish? And how are you translating this very valid information to those communities? Because I know we talk about culture and cultural beliefs and education, but the reality is that some people don't understand what you're saying. So how are you reaching out to those communities?
Okay, clearly, we've done quite a lot.
Well, it's a great opportunity to talk about the work you've been doing.
A lot of our messaging that we have distributed through various means, whether that's in Facebook, newspaper, we do still advertise on print papers. A lot of our posters and public service announcements are in different languages and not just English and Spanish. We have Mayan, Quechua, and a few others that we have considered. Garifuna, we have Garifuna as well. And it undergoes as well for us to develop those messages with people who really speak them, to really incorporate the context, because some words are even, we learned that they cannot be translated in those different languages.
Yeah.
So we need to contextualize some of the messaging and ensure that they can be understood by people who will hear them. And we undergo a peer review to make sure that they're really understandable. If we are, relaying the messages that we really actually want to. So it's really important that the languages spoken in Belize are put into this context so that you actually translate the message that you end. Those messages are, put across and correctly to the right, the right context and so on, considering cultures, etc. So we've done that.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we can just for a moment, because I do want to give the clarification. We haven't allowed, we've dived so much into what you know so far because we're eager to help to educate people. Let's talk about PAHO's role in assisting the government, the Ministry of Health over the past 2 years, some of the key areas that you've been able to offer assistance. We saw some images of vaccine delivery, PPE delivery, sanitation delivery, but there's also been some equipment and technical assistance as well. Let's talk about that relationship and what it's like moving forward.
Okay, so I'll begin, but everyone else, both Edwin and Leilou, please jump in because this has been a team approach.
Yeah.
And when as a team approach, I also want to recognize that it's at all levels of the organization. It's at the World Health Organization in Geneva, it's the PAHO office in Washington, D.C., the sub-regional offices we have both in the Caribbean and Central America, and our country office. So it's not just the work of the country office, we do have the whole, let's say the whole organization's support. And that includes the access to funding as well. I want to begin also, not to forget, I have to thank the various donors and especially the European Union. They're one of our funders for projects for health system strengthening overall, but we're in the first year of the pandemic in 2020. Some funds were reoriented to help support some of the work of the response in Belize. Again, I try not to forget people, but also we have the UN India development grant. We have a UN multi-partnership grant as well. We had funding, which was from both WHO, from Germany, from Canada. We had from Azerbaijan, from various, and I need to say, even more recently, Denmark and from the UK. We need to say thanks because without the response, which is again part of that global response where funding was made available, we could not do some of the work we're doing in Belize. So there's been a lot that has been done, and in many areas. And so we talked about risk communication, we talked about case management, infection prevention control, lots and lots of procurement, but I'll ask Edwin and Leilou to expand on those. I'll just give broadly that in 2020, a lot of our work was largely focused on the immediate response to the pandemic. In 2021, we moved into continuing the response to the pandemic, but at the same time, looking at the continuation of essential health services for non-communicable diseases, for maternal and child health. During the initial days of the pandemic, people had difficulty accessing some care as healthcare workers were redeployed. We also had, the other thing is the maintenance of gains. And this was our key areas of focus, also the maintenance of gains. And I'm saying, so immunization, that was a gain that we need to continue to focus. And in Belize, the elimination of malaria. Belize has been malaria-free for 3 years. So in 2022, we hope we'll have the status of elimination in Belize. So that would be a major achievement. So we did not want those gains that existed to be lost. So that has been the focus, but I'll ask Edwin and Leilou to, and then I will come back to where we see it's going into the future.
Let me add to what Dr. Jack has said. I think the country, Belize, has actually benefited a lot from the solidarity from other countries in terms of the global response to the pandemic, because we're not only able to help strengthen, the response to COVID itself, but also strengthen health systems. Dr. Jack mentioned about strengthening the vaccine, the immunization system in the country. Now that you have the ultra low temperature freezers and all of that, whereas you didn't have that before. And you could see how expansive the campaign is, and the capacity that's been built into that, the ice-line freezers and refrigerators and all of that, the capacity on the cold chain management. So all of these things actually helped a lot. And in terms of strengthening the health system, if you look at KHMH, for example, a lot of equipment have been donated to KHMH where it would have had challenges in procuring them during a non-pandemic period. So that the capacity, for example, for isolation, for intensive care, has actually been bolstered with all the support that's been provided, not just in terms of donations, but also technical guidance as well, and in terms of the therapeutics and the diagnostics. Even strengthening the first level of care. The capacity for testing has been expanded, it's been decentralized, and also even the capacity of the community health workers. We've been able to provide basic health kits so that they will be able to continue the essential health services that are needed in the community when the clinics have been closed down due to the pandemic. Yeah. So all of that strengthening across the level, that's what Belize is benefiting from. And because of the solidarity of all the countries in responding to the pandemic. And I think I'd stop there and I'll ask my other colleagues.
I mean, I know it's 2 years of work, so it's a lot of work to be able to, at least just speaking about the pandemic period, but you've been a partner for so long. Let me just jump on the opportunity. Is it something that you do at this point to start to think of post-pandemic planning, the fallout or the expectations of things like coping with long haul COVID, whatever residual effect people have after COVID, the mental health fallout from collectively going through this trauma, and even for healthcare workers? Are we doing that yet, or we're waiting to just get through it?
No, we're not. We're not. I wanted Lelu to talk about some of the areas of the response to, but no, we're not. That's why I mentioned the continuation of health. I call the word essential health services, but that included the mental health. These are things that are ongoing and need to be strengthened. So we talked about mental health, but also surveillance for non-communicable diseases. Yeah. I mean, that's killing a lot of our populations, I mean, 60 to 70% of our populations die from non-communicable diseases. So it is, and it's preventable. It's preventable, especially if we start from when we are young. So all these things continue to be very important. So we are doing both at the same time. So I wanted Leilut, maybe, I don't know if we have the time to speak about the other areas like the infection prevention control and the port, because it's not just, it's many areas. We have about 9 or 10 more than 9, 10, 11 pillars. 10 pillars in terms of, in terms of what the support that we give from global, regional, and country level. Yeah. So, and I'll come back to some of where our focus is going forward, to prepare for the post-pandemic, whenever that
happens. Right?
Yes.
I'm just being as optimistic as possible that it's closer than we hope. But Lelu, go ahead.
Yes. So just to top up, let's put it that way, on some of the mentions already mentioned. The area of points of entry that Dr. Jack has alluded to, we have supported, the ports in the beginning, in the initial phase, as you know, the opening of the airport as well, through some of the things that you see there, whether that's thermal scanner or television sets to provide messaging, and so on. So those are the key things. But also in the area of surveillance that has mentioned, we are supporting the contact tracers that are in the communities at the moment. And a lot of the training that goes into surveillance and enhancing the surveillance capacity of the ministry, the application that is used to do contact tracing, which we are using right now, Go Data, as we say. And of course, some of the key issues that are required to move all those equipments and all those supplies into the country requires supply chain management. Yeah. And you would know that, shipping is so expensive. We've had also cases wherein, some of those shipping containers that we may have had would be staying in the ports, not because there are some problem, but in order to move them, you should have your contacts to clear them, house them, and make appropriate storage before you're able to donate. So some of them are really, really in bulk. And a lot of those goes into planning, and obviously a lot of the staff engage with making sure that those equipment and supplies go to the appropriate people at the right time and at the right place. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of those that are happening in the background. That probably is not highlighted.
I think.
Okay, I think she's frozen. But Dr. Jack, we are in those final minutes now. So let's
so going forward,
yes,
going forward, we need to reflect and prepare for future pandemics.
Yes.
COVID-19 is not the last of the pandemics. So one of the things is to strengthen the response system and looking both at all levels, again, globally, regionally, and at the country level in terms of to prepare for future pandemics. The other thing that we're focusing, and I'm speaking now as PAHO and WHO more globally, is looking at having, like in the Americas, the manufacturing capacities for COVID, therapeutics, diagnostics. We were dependent on supply chains coming from China, from all over the world, and the competition and the prices. Leolie just mentioned it. And so you want to have in our region a more accessible ability to produce vaccines. So PAHO has been supporting, and right now it's with Argentina and Brazil, manufacturing capacity for vaccines in our region. And when I say in our region, yes, but in the Latin America and the Caribbean, I want, because yes, you will have it in North America, but we are still constrained that way. And the other, which Edwin alluded to as well, is health system strengthening. We need strong health systems. There's need for an investment in health. We have seen what COVID can do and the stress that is impacted on the health systems and almost paralyze health systems in many instances. So we need to have from all levels, from primary to secondary to tertiary, and involving the community. So all those are some ways going forward, and strengthening the surveillance, as we mentioned, the non-communicable disease, all the essential health services, as well as public health functions. So these are some of the areas going forward in preparation for the future. The future, whenever it comes that COVID is no longer there, but that knowing that something else can come into the future, because we have this continuous movement of viruses from animals into humans, and again, our focus on One Health. Yes.
Well, we appreciate the conversation and the check-in this morning. I know we scratched the surface. It was a lot of work that's been done, and a lot of work that will continue. So we hope to have you back again for future updates. But thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Jack, Dr. Bollastig, and Lelu.
So yes, thank you
very much.
All right, stay safe and good luck.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.
And with that, we're going to take a break. And, they talked about discussing other non-communicable diseases because they still are in our country and people are still working on being able to overcome them. So our next conversation is going to be about cancer and closing the care gap. We have representatives from the Belmo PAN Cancer Society to talk about World Cancer Day. Please stay tuned.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service. Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor, and you'll be 35% more productive. At Fulltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
No make no sense at all. No kind of sense. That Belize video when I have that sign up there in China for.
That not in your Chinese at all, that in Spanish.
You understand what it said then?
Yeah. It said wear your face mask properly, cover your nose and your mouth.
Will help prevent the spread of COVID to others. Together we could make Belize safe.
Wear your mask properly over your mouth and nose to protect yourself and others. Together we can keep Belize COVID-19 safe.
Digi, the premier name in voice and data, is also the country's leading provider of innovative services and solutions for small business and enterprise. At DigiBusiness, we offer solutions, tools, and applications to support your business needs. Reduce costs, improve efficiency, and excel in a changing world where no idea is too big and no task is too small. From technology advising to design implementation and management, our team of qualified solution sales and specialists can develop a reliable and robust infrastructure, allowing you to spend more time on what matters most, your business. Visit us online to explore how DigiBusiness innovative products and solutions can help your business reduce costs and improve efficiency.
Are back with our second conversation for this morning. Joining us via Zoom, we have two representatives from the Belmopan Cancer Society. We have Mr. Luke Ramos, who is the president of the Belmopan Cancer Center branch, and Mr. Rodney Neal, who is the chairman and public awareness and education committee. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
Good morning. Good morning, April.
Good morning.
And thank you for having us.
Good morning, Marlene. Good morning, April. Good morning, Belize.
Good morning, Marlene.
From the Belize Cancer Society Belmopan branch. Let me, of course, join in thanking you for the opportunity to be and open your eyes.
Oh.
Well, I will be, if time permits, I would want to share a little about what we're doing with the branch and the branch activities. But our main thing is to talk about World Cancer Day, and I will ask...
Can we start there? I'd love to talk about the situation of cancer in Belize, because we've talked so much about COVID-19. I know because it's taken up all our focus. We haven't really been talking about the fact that people are still being diagnosed and trying to get treatment for cancer. So let's talk about that. What's it like for cancer patients in the pandemic?
Of course, that comes with the challenge. You know, the pandemic has caused several challenges. The challenges of communication, the challenges of accepting services and so forth. But here we have been able to find ways to overcome that now. By one of our main thing is communication. We had to find ways to keep in contact with our members. We had to find ways so we could keep in contact with our clients, not those who seek out our services. And with the use of technology, thanks to WhatsApp, Google Meet, Zoom, emails, we were able to, especially in 2021, very successfully being able to offer the services in which we have. Our main services, of course, is to provide financial assistance. No?
Yeah. And how have you been able to raise funds?
Very good question. Traditionally, we would do the walk, the cancer walk. That was not done. Then we would do like a gala and a raffle. Last year we did a small raffle, and we did what we call a fundraising appeal. We did a pink ribbon in October, where many of.
Oh no. It appears that the president is frozen. Rodney, you want to pick up there on some of the activities?
Okay, certainly. This is his bag, really. So I might be a little bit strapped for information, but yes, indeed, we have been able to do quite a bit of fundraising. With the limited funds that we do have, we provide assistance to people who apply to us for financial assistance. But yes, the Pink Ribbon Gala has been a big fundraiser for us, both in 2019 and in 2020. And since then, we haven't been able to do it, but we have done donation appeals, and we have gotten very good response from the public as well as from the businesses. So we are continuing with that. As Mr. Ramos did say, we are able to communicate largely by virtual communication, Zoom, WhatsApp, particularly WhatsApp for our committees and whatnot. So we have also been able to assist like BL and Boeing in their Christmas hamper appeal, and delivering goods to people both in Belmopan and in the other areas of Belmopan, of the Kaya district. So yes, we do continue with that, but you see what happens, as you were saying, the pandemic goes on, goes on, but we also have a responsibility to assist those persons who need financial assistance and whatnot. So we have this focus right now on World Cancer Day, which is tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 4th of February. Every year, the 4th of February is World Cancer Day. And the theme for this year, next year, and 2024 is closing the cancer care gap. The cancer care gap. And we do know that we have a gap. We have a gap in terms of the assistance that we can provide financially. We have a gap in terms of the technical support that we can give medically. For example, in Belize, we provide surgery, obviously, and that can be done in almost every hospital or clinic. And then we have chemotherapy, which is provided by the Belize Cancer Center, which is in Dangriga, and now they are operating also out of the Belize Cancer Society's headquarters in Belize City. And they have a beautiful suite in Belize City, there at the Belmopan Cancer Center, sorry, at the
In Belize
Belmopan
City. Yeah,
Cancer
they're our neighbor.
Society.
They came on to tell us all
Right,
about
that's
that.
right.
Yeah.
That's right,
But,
yeah.
But let me just ask you, are you finding cancer patients new cancer patients that come to you, are they still coming with the common cancers that we talk about? Is it still breast and cervical and colon cancer that we're seeing?
Yep. Those are still the same cancers that are prevalent among the patients. And I forgot to mention that Dr. Yakab, the oncologist at KHMH, he operates a suite there at KHMH that was open, maybe about a year ago, probably less than that. So that's an addition to the services we offer. But what we cannot offer here in Belize is radiation therapy, or radiotherapy as it is called, right? Radiation therapy uses radioactive materials in order to treat cancer. We cannot offer that in Belize. We do not have the facility. When I was diagnosed and treated in 2008 for prostate cancer, I got treated with radiation therapy in the United States. I was fortunate because if I wasn't able to do it in the United States, I would have had to go to either Merida or to Guatemala City. And now people are actually going to Salvador, and there is a possibility of also going to Nicaragua. We have one patient right now who is receiving treatment in Cancun.
Yeah.
But here in Belize, no, we do not have that facility. And I know that Mrs. Laura Longsworth, our national president, has been working along with the government, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, in order to see if we can get some sort of assistance from the International Atomic Energy Agency, which deals with this sort of thing, so that we can have a facility here in Belize. I know they have been looking at all the problems that's associated with the cost and with the scale of operation.
Yeah.
And we might even have to get into things like medical tourism and whatnot in order to get the throughput of patients, which can justify. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where we are right now. But we have challenges. Everywhere we turn, we have challenges in terms of the cost and people not being able to afford the treatment.
I
And
like that you said that, because this theme, closing the care gap, let's break that down for a minute. What exactly is the gap in care that we're talking about? Is it affordability? People not being able to pay for a biopsy or a surgery? What's the care gap that exists, and how realistic that we in Belize will be able to close that?
Thank you, Marlene. That's a very good question, right on point. And I started to talk about it because, in fact, the care gap is both technical and financial. We also have the probability of being able to do radiation therapy, so that people do not have to travel abroad in order to get treatment. There is a situation also where patients need to be assisted, as we call it, advocacy, and patient, the terminology quite right now escapes me, but it's we navigate patients so that we can provide them with the information that they need in order to go to the correct area in order to get treatment. Yes, and also in Belize, location is also important, because those people who are out in the rural areas do not have access to the type of specialists which are required in order to do the work. Dr. Yakab, for example, is at KHMH. I know he travels to different areas, but he has to travel, right? We have other specialists like urologists, Dr. Simmons, Dr. Miranda. Again, they are in the urban areas. And so that is a gap where the technical and medical assistance which is needed is not on spot in the rural areas. So we have been able to assist with that. And then in Belize City, the main branch in Belize City also provides assistance to those who, during this pandemic, we cannot travel across the border just that easily. So the headquarters in Belize City then provides assistance that people can go across the border to get treatment, whether it's in Guatemala or Merida or in Cancun for that matter.
I want to bring back Mr. Luke into the conversation.
Yes,
and I want to talk about, no worries, technical difficulties is a part of the process. But I want to talk a little bit about the Cancer Society in Belize and your international partners. How is that relationship going, and how has that partnership able to help you through the pandemic when it comes to bringing public awareness and helping out the clients that come to seek your assistance at the Cancer Society?
As I know, as it relates to international partnership, I know that the Belize City office has a direct contact with the medical facility in Merida. And there's one Dr. Pablo, which I know that the main office communicate with him regularly, because we have what we call a cancer care program for children. And so there is a direct communication once there is a need for a child here in Belize City, in Belize itself, referred to the Belize City office, then they contact the Merida connection and they're able to provide that services. I must say that services, it is covered. It meets all the case. We have a child from Belmopan that was able to go through that process, and thankfully, because you and I know the real cost of cancer care is tremendous, no? And so thanks for that program. So that much I know about the one from Merida. I know there is some connection as well with Guatemala, but that is a little bit more informal. But the one in Merida is direct connection. No? They communicate directly with the office once we send a child as well. As Mr. Neil shared, assistance is provided through the Belize City office to facilitate travel. So that they're able to go over the border to seek medical attention.
So just coming back to the theme and close the care gap, what is the Belize Cancer Society and the Belmopan branch planning to do for World Cancer Day tomorrow? How are you highlighting that theme?
Okay, one of the things, well, this event here, because our two main functions we have, which is the public awareness and education, and of course, we spend quite a lot of time trying to raise funds to assist those in need. So, for example, today is one of those events that we're doing in connection with World Cancer Day. Also, we're going to invite members to visit our Facebook page. We have sent out a flyer which identify where the various services could be had, because sometimes it's as simple as people don't know where to go for services. And then tomorrow, I know that we're having a national branch meeting, and the Belize City office will be launching their calendar of events. So, because we are a part of the Belize City office, no? We are a branch of that office. So whatever they do, we do as well, no?
All right. Well, we appreciate you giving us this very important reminder that there still is work to be done in helping with people who are being diagnosed with cancer in this country. Yes. We wish you the best of luck, and thank you so much for providing the update.
Thank you very much, Marlene and April, and thanks to Channel 5. And we encourage those that are in need of services to reach out to the various branches and that we can help to help to close the gap for cancer care. No?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Marlene, and April. Thank you. As the president said, we have branches in most of the districts in Toledo, in Stan Creek, in San Ignacio, of course in Belmopan, and of course the headquarters in Belize City.
All right. Well, with that, we are going to take another break. And when we come back, we're going to be greeted by those in the EGLA's Training Center. So stick around.
With eCash, bill payment is extremely convenient, and all utility companies accept eCash payments. What's even better? You get to split bills with your roommates, siblings, or whoever you desire. Simply open your eCash app, go to Bill Pay, tap the respective utility company, enter the information, and pay the bill. Then tap the transaction made. Tap Split the bill. Select Evenly. Send the request to who you are splitting the bill with, and get notified when they pay. Talk about making life easy and avoiding confusion. You can split the bill for restaurants, grocery stores, and for any eCash payment you make. To find your next yummy meal, hair treatment, or chill spot, simply open the app and utilize the geolocation service to see nearby businesses that accept eCash. Geolocation and bill payment make life a whole lot easier.
I chose Galen because of its strong reputation.
Great scholarships.
I came because I can take all my classes online.
It is what I need to take me where I want to go.
To learn more about our various programs, visit our website at www.galen.edu.bz or email us at admissions@galen.edu.bz.
And come soar with the Galen Eagles.
The ministry is collaborating with SpeedNet Communications to have a vaccination campaign for children ages 12 to 17 years. Children who get vaccinated will get a chance to win fabulous prizes, including backpacks with supplies, Nintendo Switch, tablets, book tuitions, and MiFi with 3 months data. Only children 12 to 17 years old can participate in this smart and Ministry of Health and Wellness raffle. At vaccination sites, each vaccinated child, upon being vaccinated, will receive a ticket to place their name, age, date of birth, BHIS number, and contact information on, which will be filled out by a parent or legal guardian. The sooner a person vaccinates, the more chances he or she will have to win. Get vaccinated, Belize! Vaccination saves lives.
If you're looking for low-cost television advertising, have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you save valuable time and money. Call us today at 223-0146 or visit us at our offices on Pony Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Our final conversation for today, discussing a very important training program that exists in Belize, one that many can benefit from, and we have one of the participants with us today too to tell us all about her experience. EGLA's Training Center. We have with us the founder and chair, Jane Bennett. She's joining us via Zoom. We have Juanita Batun, who is the coordinator, one of the teachers at the training center, and we have past student Desiree Andrewen with us. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Thank you all for being here. We are excited to hear. We want to hear about your experience, Desiree. We want to hear about how things are going with COVID. But Jane, let's start off with just a recap with the purpose and objectives behind EGLA's Training Center.
Well, good morning, all beautiful ladies, I see.
Yes, you're right.
It's a very woman show today.
Well, thank you, first of all, Marlene and your team for giving EGLA's the opportunity to promote our programs. We try to do this at the beginning of each year. You know, New Year's resolution sometimes say, oh, I'm going to school or back to school. So we try to capture that momentum as much as possible. So little history, you know, I live in the United States, my second country, and I just had this inspiration many years ago to continue what my mom started when we were children. I didn't know in those days, and I'm sure she didn't either, that she was, quote unquote, an adult educator. But she was a secretary in the public service, and she had really good skills, not blowing her horn, but she did. And so her colleagues asked her to help them to improve their skills. So she acquired old computers from the public service, and our veranda was long enough to accommodate a few students, and that's how it started. So she taught typing and shorthand in those days. I'm sure a lot of our listeners don't even know what a typewriter is, but she taught basic skills in typing and shorthand. And I have to also say that she got us started. That's my beautiful deceased mother, thank you. And she got us started with teaching as well, because when women would come, and of course they had to bring their children because it was after school, she let us know that we had to help their children with their homework. So I've been teaching since I was a child as well. But anyway, so I just had this calling that I wanted to return to Belize at some point. At the time I was working with UNICEF, and I think they influenced me as well when I got really aware of the plight, and I call it the plight of women and children all over the world, girls in particular, who did not have an opportunity to, get an education or to continue their education. And so I told my mom I would go back to Belize and continue what she started, of course, bringing it into the 21st century with reading, with literacy and life skills, reading, writing, and computer skills as well. Yeah. But as EGLAS has continued to grow, and I have to thank Mrs. Myrna Willoughby. She used to be a counselor at the family court, and she's my BFF in Belize, and she encouraged me to come home and do this. And I asked if at that time literacy was an issue, and she said, "Are you kidding me? Of course." And so that's how it really got started. I learned from my colleagues in UNICEF when I said, "Oh, I'm going to go home and open a school." And they said, "You mean you're going to be starting an NGO?" And I said, "NGO? No." But I quickly found out that they knew what they were talking about. So I went home in 2002. I established EGLAS with wonderful board members who stayed on for like 15 years. We just had a change of the guard a year ago. And so that's the history in a nutshell. And it just continued to evolve and grow. Especially with the life skills area. So we were very blessed to have people like Mrs. Alma Ely, who was a retired teacher trainer from the ministry. She joined the team. I started it on my own and then went to teach at UWI and eventually became the head at UWI. And then all these other wonderful people took EGLAS to another level. So I'm going to stop there, and if there are any questions as we go along, I will be happy to answer them.
Yeah, but thank you so much for setting the backdrop behind it. Just something that your mom had a passion for and grown now into a center that can really help families. Desiree, I want to ask you, Juanita, about your experience, but I want to jump into hearing about Desiree's experience. Desiree, what prompted you to go to EGLAS and to enroll in their program?
Well, for me, my problem was the reading and writing, the way how I talk, that the way how I write. Get to find out that ain't the proper way. So, me and my sister made a discuss, and I tell her, I say, girl, I say, if I go to school back, I know I learn nothing. And we back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So, I say, know something, I make up my mind. One friend of mine tell me, he said, they have one place with me, EGLAS. I say, EGLAS? He say, yes. So I take the first step by going. So when I got register. I meet Miss Will. Miss Will be I shot her, Miss Will. I meet her and she said, "Good morning." I said, "Good morning, my dear." And then conversation struck up. I tell her, "Well, I come register." So when I come register, he said, "Well, this is the way you need and not the way you need." I said, "Okay, ma'am." He said, "Well, then come such a time." So I said, "Okay, then I'll make up the time."
Yeah.
So I said, "Okay, then start to buy your things in this." I get my school bag.
What? You
Get
can
me
buy
books.
school supplies.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So it make I feel when I went into the class. Plus, I mean, I'm sure if you tell her you nervous, like the correct no and the nerve.
No.
So I get my things them and I went to school. And when I got into the class, I said, "Good morning, everybody." And I shame to tell the legal back then, come back. I said, "Wow, that's how you feel." And when I meet Miss Edie for the first time, and she asked me a question about myself, and I so come break the ice. And then, they like one truck where run out of gas. That was me. My truck me run out of the gas. Till I put in the gas. When I put on the gas, no, you can't go that fast. You have to put it on and it goes slow.
It's totally bit.
You start. You go tell when you hear you.
Yes.
Take off from this. So that was me. So I try to explain to everybody, all of we ain't the same. All of we learn one different space. So you no shame, no care of who, because me, take it from me. There's no shame. I don't feel shame. I used to always say, my daughter, when you want to achieve something, go for it. Well, I gone for it. And thank God I could say, I could help myself and help others when need me.
So you learn to read?
I learn how to read and I learn how to write. But the part is, I'm good for my maths. You can't fool me for my maths.
Okay,
Good.
That's important.
Yes, you can't fool me for my maths. But the English was my problem. I noticed with my sister that the way I learned from she, because she that was the book head. Now me, and I'm a different case. I wasn't the book head. But maths, I love my maths. But I find out I need to get going on the English that I could move forward. So that's my problem. So don't go.
You said the best reward of all of this was being able to go home and help your grandson with his
my
homework.
grandnephew.
Grandnephew, tell
My
me.
grandnephew. When he come home with the homework, sometimes I tell my niece, I say, no such thing. Make I try. Because by I try and help, I help myself by doing it. So I say, no such thing, make I help her. And I'm not ashamed to tell you, it feel good that I learn meanwhile he learn, I learn too. So it make you feel good about yourself. That's what we call the self-esteem start to build up. So that's the way I have to say.
And what about the other people there in your class?
Well, I meet some lovely people.
A bunch of brave people,
yes,
right?
like myself. So the part is we go in a classroom, but we not just sit down. We discuss and we help out one another. And that's the beauty of it, you know. You not only go there for yourself. You go there for each other, to be other, how call it, iron sharpen iron. That's the way I learn. So I say, know something, in our life we do need each other. We not come here to turn no rock stone. We come here to help one another learn. And by you helping she help somebody, help him also. So
I like what you said about how everybody learn different. Everybody have their own different way. Everybody have their own different pace. And that's where I want to bring you, Miss Juanita, into the conversation about the styles that you offer at E-Glass Training Center. How do you manage to help out brave people like Miss Desiree?
Okay, a typical learning or a typical day at E-Glass is a day where first of all, I have to plan for individual students. When our students apply to receive that training at E-Glass, I administer a diagnostic test. I use word list tests. Then we have the phonics inventory, and then we have the reading inventory. Using those tools, diagnostic tools, I find that students are at different level.
Yeah.
So we have to plan differently. The instruction is different for each. If I have 10 students, they are at different levels. It have to be 10 different lessons with activities. We as teachers, we multitask. I personally have to know how to do multitask duties in the classroom because of the differences, because of their levels. We find out that their strengths and challenges are different. And we do that prior to instruction. So our clients or our students who attend E-Glass are primary school students, we have secondary, we have youths, some of them are dropouts, and we also have adults. So they are different levels. We work Monday to Thursday, and they receive 1 hour training every day, except on Fridays.
And for the children, It's for those who have fallen behind?
The children, they would come after classes. Right now, they're doing face-to-face instruction. They come after classes, and those children are being referred sometimes by the teacher, by our parents are willing to come and receive that extra instruction. And the youth, sometimes they find EGLAS by themselves, or they're being referred to by, to EGLAS by the Women's Department. We have the Youth Services, and also we have the Human Services Department. So they refer those youths and adults to EGLAS, and then they receive their training there.
How long does a training normally last?
Okay, it depends on the individual. Some students, the primary school, they would be there for a year, every day receiving that hour, just to help them move from one level to the other. And then the youths, I have a youth just graduated last year, and he applied to go to Gwenlis. And because of limited device, he was able to go there. So he's, we are trying to help him to get a device so that he can start classes at Gwenlis evening division. So he completed like 2 years training, but basically it's a 1 year training that at the end of the year, they receive a certificate. We have a little short program and they receive a certificate. And if they start in January, they would finish in December. If they start in September, they would finish in June. So that's the duration of the program. And they learn, their learning pace, they are at different level. But our objective is to move them from one level to the next. And if a child is, maybe when we do the assessment, we find that a child is reading, or a student is reading at the infant 2 level, we want to standard 1, standard 2, standard 3, as far as we can reach.
I love, one, that children can catch up if they've fallen behind. And I also love that that adult women can go back and be able to access this type of training. Desiree, describe to me the difference between before you went to EGLAS and learned how to read and write versus now after you've completed your program. What's the biggest difference?
The difference is I used to baffle. Like, maybe we go straight. That's the way we call baffle.
Yeah.
But now, thank God, I could read and I could write. I could write sentences the way how it's supposed to be. And I grasp how you the
way to read.
Where to read.
Yeah.
So.
But what may feel like? What may feel like before when you never know?
I may feel bad.
Yeah.
Why I feel bad? Because sometimes people ask you to do something, and then
you don't know how.
You don't know how. But no, I don't mind now, because I could help myself. So it make you feel good about you.
You say you were scared that when you start, you may couldn't learn it.
I couldn't learn. Because then I tell myself that. But till I catch up, and I said, "There's you only stupid. You could learn." And this I think so. Sometimes we tell ourselves one thing, but I have to give God thanks and praise. Why? Because somebody was in my corner. And you need positive people around you, and positive people will push you. But if you hang on with negative people, you start to believe what they tell you about you. So that you have to be the one to tell yourself, know something, I'm not stupid, I'm not fool, I could learn. But if you want it, then you go for it. Because I'm not ashamed to tell you, I'm glad I got for mine.
It may hard?
Ooh, it never, from first, because then I never they understand. For the first, I'm not ashamed to tell you, because sometimes you do give up, but you don't give up. Because especially when somebody they in your corner, like my sister, I'm not ashamed to tell you. And 1 or 2 friends, Miss Ely, Miss Will, Miss Jane, thanks baby. I'm not ashamed to tell you, it make you feel good that at the end of the end of the line, you could say no something, you achieve something. So I feel good now about myself. I really do.
You encourage other people to
Yes.
go with your friends.
Yes, I tell us, you know something, go to Eglas. For the first year, I feel funny. But afterwards, and then you meet other friends. That's the part. You meet your classmates. That's what we call them classmates.
Yes.
All right.
So when I meet them, I will start to talk from one thing to the next. Then we say, no, something, we could do it.
Yeah.
We could do it. And that's the beauty of it. When we could get together and help out each other.
Let me say something. You know, I think one of the scariest things to do is for adults to go back to school.
Yes.
Because it just, you feel like that phase in your life done.
But it's not done.
And you maybe don't get used to not know how and figure out how to get through life. But it's hard. And it could be easier if you go back and get trained.
Yes.
So if somebody watch right now, then they home, then they think about it, they're afraid, then I want to look stupid, they're afraid people make them feel bad.
You know what people think. That's the way I tell myself. There's, you know where nobody think. You worry what you think about you. So that's why I gone back. Because I mean, think about me if I change. So I'm not ashamed to tell you, it feel good to think about you if you change. So I want to tell anybody, when you want to go to school, or no go to school. Because I gone back, and I'm not ashamed to tell you, I feel good about me. I don't know about you, but I know I feel good about me.
Like that.
That's
yes.
Right. I don't think you need a better invitation than that, Miss Jane.
Yes.
But I love what you're saying. I love what you're saying because, you know, it take bravery for start.
And the next,
it take determination to finish.
Yes. And the next thing sometimes, why people afraid to, because certain times, something come in their life. Obstacles come in their life. And so happens, things happen in their life that they shut down one part. And then when they think they never could do, but tell you, have somebody as well tell you, where see the goodness in you and see the potential in you. That then could say, no, something, I want to help you. No care what you think.
Yeah.
I want to help you. And that's the way I like.
All right. So how do people enroll at EGLAS, whether you're a child or an adult? How do you enroll?
We have application forms that they need to fill out, and they pay a $5 registration fee. And we have the website at info@eglastrainingcenter.edu.bz that they can go into the website, and that's the email. The website is www.eglastrainingcenter.edu.bz. So they can apply online. They can come in, drop in, come in, visit the office. And the office is located at number 43, corner Colette Canal and Raccoon Streets.
Yeah.
Working hours, I open from 9, but my classes start from 10 to 5, Monday to Thursday. So they can come in, apply, pay their fee, and there's a tuition of $25 weekly. Either be a student, a young student, or an adult, they pay the same fee, $25 weekly. So they can come in, and we invite, we are here so that we can invite others, take that opportunity to come in, apply, and receive those extra classes that they would require.
And you could start at any time in the year?
Any time in the year. They can start
so
this
you're not checking out between now and the start of school. You start now.
Anytime. From the minute you identify that you require some literacy skills, come in. And apart from that, and that's why our center is the EGLAS Literacy and Life Skills, because as Ms. Des mentioned, we need the self-esteem and self-confidence, especially as you mentioned with our adults. When they come in, we have the adults would come in the morning for the most part, and in the afternoon we have the youths or we have the school children. So we try have that session one-on-one, and so that we have a group of adults, And I do my part to motivate them, to talk to them and feel that, oh, you're here, we are here to help you, we are here to develop your literacy skills. There's no way to be ashamed of, there's no way to be afraid, because I am here to do what we wish to help them develop those skills.
Well, ladies, I think this is just such a great conversation to remind people that it is still a new year.
Yes.
And if there's literacy skills that you need to build on, if your children can help with need some reinforcement, EGLAS is there to be able to help to fill that gap. You still feel nervous, Ms. Des? Or you feel good now?
Thank you
well,
so
we
much,
are
ladies.
grateful you came and you told us your
Yes.
story. Thank you too.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
Marlene, can I just jump in to
Yes.
give a heads up that down the road, there will be a financial management workshop training. It will be conducted by somebody very well known to Belize, who's currently also in the United States, but she has volunteered. Mrs. Corinne Fuller. She used to be at the, so Corinne has volunteered to run that for us maybe one Saturday. So that's to come. And also just before COVID, Mrs. Baton and I had, at the inspiration of Miss Marie Munoz, who's one of our avid supporters of EGLAS, she suggested that instead of having our normal summer workshops, we could do a reading challenge. And so we went ahead and Ms. Baton put a lot of hours into laying this out, and we are hopeful that as we get better with COVID, we will be able to do that maybe later this year or next year.
All right.
Thank you so
Ladies,
much.
thank you all for coming in. Keep up the great work. And I don't know what else you want to take on next, Ms. Des?
Well, I did take on the back snow.
Oh, you to work?
Oh, yes, I did. Paddle.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in. We're going to go ahead and take that final break. When we come back, we'll have our wrap up. So stay tuned.
Pelican, the beer of Belize.
It's a fact that your credit lasts longer when using Smart. During these times, we're all trying to find ways to cut costs and save the little resources we have. With Smart, it's easy to do that. It's a fact that with Smart, your credit lasts longer. You can call Smart to Smart and Smart to Digi using your promo credit, while with the other guy, you can only call OnNet, Digi, or BTL numbers. What does this mean? You get to call any national number using your promo credit. Your promo credit is free, so that call is also free. Know your facts. Don't be tricked by the other guy. Be smart and save your dollars.
connecting people. Creating memories.
Guys, so here we are at the Glaze Out Kitchen. I just prepared this amazing broccoli.
Sharing a smile. NextGen, the ultimate digital experience.
Your life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank Contactless MasterCard Debit Card. Introducing our Standard Debit and MasterCard Platinum Debit Cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
And we are back.
We are. That was a great
Oh, that
day.
was such a positive way to end the day.
It was, and I think that all of our
morning.
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
They're done. It's already 9 o'clock.
Well, when you watch the repeat later, it'll be ending your day. But
yeah,
go
but
ahead.
no, but I was gonna say that we started off. I think the conversations flowed really well in the sense of COVID, talking about the road so far, I would say, from 2020 to 2022 with PAHO and the World Health Organization, their challenges and all they have had to do in terms of vaccination and how to try to get people the preventative measures and how to reduce the daily infections.
You know, PAHO is such an important partner in the country. And I know that because it is usually that they're offering assistance, financial or technical assistance, that they're kind of behind the scenes. It's great to hear from them directly as to their involvement and also the outlook for the pandemic. I think we quashed the pandemic is over feeling very early on in that conversation.
I really hope so, yes.
And I gotta say, you know, if there's one thing that's kind of just lingering in my brain from that conversation is where they're saying, well, we're not quite sure if we've peaked as yet, because let's look at what's happening in other countries. They're going back up in cases, and that has been just a bit spooked. But I think it's a great point for us to remind people that we can be able to get it under control. We just have to take all the precautions necessary.
Yeah, getting comfortable is not the answer. Not yet, anyways.
Yeah.
So
we're going to get there. We're going to get to the end of the pandemic, but it's hanging on a bit longer.
And I wanted to talk also about how we had the folks from the Cancer Society. Because we've, like you rightfully mentioned, we've been talking about COVID for what seems like it's been forever. And we sometimes forget that we have other diseases that are lingering in the country. Even though we have COVID-19, we still have diabetes and hypertension being the primary killers of the diseases in Belize, as well as cancer and the different types of cancer. So it was really good to hear from them. And you know, it's difficult to hear about the challenges that COVID has brought in terms of bringing awareness and fundraising, but lest we forget, tomorrow is Cancer Day, World Cancer Day, and we just have to try to keep that in
also
mind.
Red Day. I was wearing red because I won't be on tomorrow, but I was like, how did World Cancer Day also become World Heart and Stroke Day? Maybe it'll be World NCD Day soon, non-communicable disease day. But nonetheless, I know they're encouraging you to wear pink as well and red. So find a combo that works for
John and I will figure it out. John, wear red tomorrow.
There
Collaborate.
you go. But just a really important reminder there. And so I'm closing off with EGLAS and the work that they do. And Desiree coming on and sharing her story. She was so nervous. But it's so important to hear from people directly, people who've walked in that path. Let's not underestimate for a minute. Accepting and acknowledging that we don't know things can be hard for some people. Some of us are better at it than others. And to be middle-aged and say, I'm going to go back to school to learn to read and write takes a great level of courage. And, you know, kudos to her and coming here to share that story.
I really enjoyed her saying that one of her best accomplishments has been that she's able to come home and help her grandnephew with his schoolwork, because I was, right before the camera came on, I told her even the most educated person sometimes can't help primary school kids with their homework, because it's, you know, you forget when the last time you do improper fractions. Come on. So, exactly.
Yeah, I would lose at Are You Smarter Than a Third Grader?
I would lose that game too.
Miserably. I would lose.
I had my brother say, why are you doing multiplications when you just have a calculator right there? You know,
All right.
But the point is that you are able to go back, and hearing her story, I think it has reminded you that it's never too late to go back and learn something, learn a new skill, learn to read, learn to write. So that was a lovely way to end the show.
But it is time for us to go. We thank you for joining us this morning, and remember, you can tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes
and start your morning, right?
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, Belize.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.